If I had to bet on one special to be the absolute best in the series history, it just has to be Zipcaster, right? It's responsible for some of the most fun single player levels, and it's just such a cool concept. You have this lightning fast movement, a super cool unique special concept that grabbed your attention right from the first trailer. It's a literal grapple hook Spider-Man type special. And in competitive play, it got highlighted really early for being attached to Stamper, the best new weapon in Splatoon 3, and it was seen as one of the best designed and most hype options in the series history. With these two forces, Zipcaster got the spotlight it deserved, and it started to thrive, being known for having a lot of counterplay options and unique skill expression. But more casually, the special had some struggles. It was quite hard to use, and on some close-range weapons, it felt like you had very little options, which the devs did seem to prioritize with specials early game, for options like Carbon Roller, Luna Blaster, and Octobrush. But the devs were looking out for the special. It got some really cool weapons attached to it. Most notably, Squiffer and Tetra were added post-launch with it, both of them being highly requested picks for it before their release. And on top of that, the special got some pretty huge buffs. Less ink consumption, meaning you have much more time in the special, more damage, a one-shot combo, all really interesting stuff. It looks like the special should be trending upwards. But as of right now, it's actually seen as one of the weakest specials in the game. That's a bit odd. And hey, don't take my word for it. Here is the best Stamper in the world ranking the special. This story gets a bit complicated from here, so let me break down this weapon's history. Be sure to subscribe if you enjoy, and let's get into it. This video is sponsored by Splatoon Stronghold, a hub for competitive players with a website and Discord for those looking for all kinds of resources to get into competitive play. And another season of the Beginner's Academy is about to begin. If you're a new player looking to get in, signups are open until July 12th. You can fill out the form in the description to, if selected, get paired with other players to form a team, get provided with coaching and a team manager, and after a month of practice, play against other teams in your first tournament, and get invited to the Academy Showcase to compete for a Sendu badge and valedictorian of the season. It's a cool experience growing in popularity, so check it out. The first aspect of this that I need to talk about is Zipcaster's main weapons. A lot of specials have the power somewhat tied to the main weapons with them. For example, Ultra Stamp of course keeps the swim speed of your main weapon. If you have a heavyweight weapon like Wellstring, your stamp is slightly weaker. If you have a lightweight weapon like Luna Blaster, it's slightly better. For most of these, it doesn't matter that much, with a few rare exceptions, such as Bubble Blower in Splatoon 2, which, if you had a bomb to do the bubble combo or some option to utilize them better like Tent Shield, were much better than on other options. Zipcaster is the harshest one out of the entire series history though. It really matters what weapon you're using because Zipcaster is essentially just added mobility for that weapon. If the weapon you are enabling isn't very good, then it's gonna really feel bad. Imagine if you were zipping around as a Splattershot Nova, for example. It probably wouldn't feel very good because that weapon just isn't made to fight people. And for Zipcaster, a lot of its weapons are lacking. The trio I mentioned earlier of Luna, Carbon, and Octobrush are all very short-range weapons, which means they need to be very close to attack, which means that their Zipcasters are predictable and very linear, with Octobrush's fall-off and lenient hitbox giving it at least a little bit more to work off of it. That made these specials struggle quite a lot, when clearly the devs were thinking this might be great for short-range weapons initially. Post-launch, Slosher and Tetra are excellent main weapons for the special, but they have absolutely awful subs on their weapon kits. To this day, I cannot understand why Tetra got a Sprinkler. I think this is the most mismatched main plus sub combination in the entire series. This weapon is known for dying a lot. Why do we give it a sub that dies when it dies? And it doesn't paint at all either. It doesn't need a painting sub. Yeah, I mean, again, just confused how this happened in two separate games. Anyway, more importantly, the other kits on these weapons are just so much better for it, which means you never really have a reason to pick Bucket or Tetra. This leaves only one weapon, because yeah, Zipcaster is on that few options, and that's Splatana Stamper. And this one is a pretty good weapon kit. However, about a year ago, we added another weapon kit with Auto Bomb, Booyah Bomb, and it's also 20 points cheaper, and Booyah Bomb is a much better special, which means for Zipcaster to be worth it, even on its best weapon, it has to be pretty good. And right now it's not. So you might have gathered already that if the direct changes to Zipcaster are all positive, it has to be the indirect patch changes that are hurting it. And, well, yeah, pretty much every meta shift for the game since Crab meta ended off has been bad for Zipcaster. More fighting-based weapons, including a lot of one-shot and AoE weapons, those will do great in the caster. A lot of short-range fighting weapons got buffed. They're amazing at taking it out in close range, especially if you are a short-range Zipcaster weapon, which you know is half of them. Oh, and the specials are even worse. There are so many good giant hitbox specials or insane tanking options that you could pick from, all of which are a lot easier and more consistent. So your competition is just harsher. And there's even more to that though. Stamper, already carrying the special in terms of the only main weapon that was super worth it, got nerfed quite a lot, being much more difficult and also suffering from most of the same meta shifts. As Zipcaster's strongest soldier, Zipcaster being weaker means its caster is also weaker. In particular, the harsh ink consumption, less paint, and higher points for special means that you have shorter Zipcasters and a lot less of them. Finally though, I would say the other factor is player development. While Zipcaster players have definitely gotten better with the special, people also could get a lot better at dealing with it, and the counterplay side of things definitely has a lot more going on with it. So how do we fix this special? Well, before I talk about buffs, there's one nice thing that I don't think is gonna happen, but I'd love to be wrong about. It would be really cool if we put Zipcaster on like a few more weapons. Seriously, this is one of the lowest in the game for one of the most interesting specials, which is very surprising. And there are other Zipcaster candidates, so it could be interesting to see it not hinge entirely on Stamper. That said, to talk about changes, while we can't change the weaker kits like, you know, Tetra's Sprinkler or something like that, we could just make the special way cheaper. For example, if Tetra went from 190 to 160 points for special, I think it could be argued that it would be better than the vanilla kit. And in general, this is actually the first change I'm suggesting. Make Zipcaster generally the cheapest special in the game. You could do things like Bucket Deca 160 or Luna 160, Squiffer 170. Stamper would probably have to be like 180 minimum, but you get the idea. Make it really cheap to where it doesn't really need to be at the power level of some of the best specials because you have it a lot more often. This is a good way to offset the risk factor and difficulty. If you get a lot of the special, it can balance it out a little bit more, and more importantly, if you're learning the special, more opportunities to use it means you might learn it faster. On top of that, I'd like to introduce the idea that the special should only lose 25% of its cost upon death, instead of the normal 50%. Now you might be realizing that both of these buffs have actually already happened before. These were the changes that happened to Splashdown all the way back in Splatoon 2. And that is the pattern here. I think that this special should primarily just have higher special output, because again, it makes up for the difficulty while still allowing the special's design of back and forth interactions and high punishability to be a factor of it. And mainly, this is because I think Zipcaster should stay a difficult special. Most attributes I see people talking about in terms of buffs, I think would just break the core design too much. You want to give it more HP? Really? It already gives you ink armor every time you use the arm. That's quite a lot. I've seen some people say that you could make it faster, but like it already moves really fast. Being shot mid-zip should be possible. The only thing I could see stat-wise to change on the special would be a lag change. Zipcaster currently is fine when attaching to a wall. You have options between jumping and using your squid form to drop more quickly, and both are fairly fast. But zipcastering to the floor is garbage, and I do think zipping to the floor should be slower than zipcasting normally, but should it be that much slower? I think it's to the point where zipping to the floor is pretty much unusable at a certain level of play, so making that a little bit faster, like 2 or 3 frames, I think would be fine to do. But in general, that's my ideas for fixing the special. I really like Zipcaster. I think it's cool and I want it to stick around for future Splatoon titles. It has a lot of interesting weapon synergy, possibilities for single player levels, and hey, I think it could even work well in Salmon Run. In the future, I hope that this special is looked at and balanced to be better, because personally, I think we could all use a little bit more Zipcaster. Thanks for watching. Oh, and after the making of the script, they made Zipcaster 33% less ink hungry. It's still a bad special, but that's a good change, so yeah.